Alright, how's everybody doing? So this is a section of a map that's I took with Blender GIS. Blender GIS is used for making maps. It does like a Google Earth kind of thing where you pick an area and you say I want to make this the map. And then you have it take the satellite data, make an elevation map out of it, and you basically use that to make a terrain block. But you can use the model if you want to drive on the model. It's pretty low polygon. It's got a couple of modifiers applied to make it more polys, but you don't really want to make it more polys because the cube size that the satellite samples is pretty large. If you tessellate this a lot, you'll see that. You'll see the little cubes. So personally, in my opinion, Blender GIS is not good for doing small stuff like this because it doesn't really give you no sense of scale. It's probably accurate to some extent. It's not perfect, but the scale is exactly right. So if you were to import your little BeamNG car into here, you see be a little bitty thing on the road down there. Uh, yep. So there's our little, what do you call it? Burn side, burn whatever. So it might be right. I mean, that may be correct. It may be the right angle. It's hard to tell, like when you look at something that big. But anyway, so you want to make a map out of this. Well, you're going to be limited to the amount of texturing that you can get because even with a big area like this, you're probably looking at like 20,000 by 20 something thousand by 17 something thousand resolution to have this map. And that's not even at the highest detail. It'd probably go up to a lot more than that if you had the memory to get it. But nobody wants a texture that big. There's no need to do that. Um, you'd use the terrain paints to basically replace all the stuff in the map with terrain paint stuff. Replace these flat trees with actual trees. Put decals where the road would be. Basically, that's how you would do it. And then you'd use something like use a mesh for what's in the surrounding areas. You know, like the mountains or whatever's around it. You know, you want to kind of get a bird's eye view of what it looks like and try to paint on your map somewhat something familiar with the place. So if somebody was to ride on the map, they'd say, "Well, yeah, I know that track." Well, this is part of Walter's Arena. It's a big ass track. If you were to ever try to make it, you need a 7K map, so 8K to get it all in there. I did the math on it. Not that you should trust my math, but that's about what it'd come out to, about an 8K map. And you need a good system to work on that because it will tax your computer working on it. Maybe not so much driving on it as it does working on it. Man, it's slow. Everything is slow. The train moves slow. Everything moves slow. So anyway, yeah. So I just got a small section. Now, if I were to apply the same technique that I did with my other map, then I would treat this just like a downloaded model. So I'd go to a top-down view with a camera, or create a camera rather from a top-down view. And then I'd move that camera up. I can't even tell where I'm at. There I am. Now, you have to make a shader for the elevation, but what you also have to do is take a picture of the texture. So when you go to your camera and you tell it orthographic view and pick your camera view, then what you'll want to do is you'll want to change the scale to be able to get what it is that you want to make fit in there. So we do an 8K map, 8K BeamNG map. That way we can get more detail. And then we'll shrink it down by doing a smaller block size. But we'll have the actual model for scale, so we can get the terrain block correct to match it. So what I'm gonna have to do is shrink this down to get a height map, because big objects don't do well with that. I found that you need to have it pretty small. So we'll get the maximum viewing distance that we can get. And since the track is here, we'll just move it over a bit. Actually, I think that goes up and around there and loops back. Yeah, it does. Yeah, well, you can only get what you can get. This will be fine for this example. Alright, once you get that, you'll want to render that. And you just render it with Eevee. But you'll want to fix your texture first, because right now it's not right. Right now it's not presenting correctly. I don't remember what I did to fix that. Change the roughness, and I have to make this also the same map here. I need to undo it from here. I think I may not have to do that. Hold on a minute. We go to shader. I can just do it from here. Yeah, I want to do color to emission. That way it'll self-illuminate. So when you render it, you won't have any shadows that shouldn't be there. See, now it's self-illuminated. So when you go to render, it'll render that cube. Let me see if I can get that better than that. That'd be alright. Hell with it. Render image. Oh, and we're rendering RGB 16-bit grayscale for the height map, but for the color map, RGB 8-bit. You don't want any compression, and do PNG. So you render image, take it a bit to render 8K. Not so bad with Eevee. Eevee's kind of quick at doing that. Oh man, we're missing map, ain't we? Oh, how'd that happen? Well, it's a big ass map. Weird shit happens when you're scrolling out thousands and thousands and thousands of damn meters. I don't know. That's why I say you gotta shrink it. So let's duplicate it. If we're gonna shrink it, we need to duplicate, so we got one of the original, the same size it should be. Yeah, we'll just shrink it down. It'll do better when we do it that way. So get out of camera view. Duplicate it and hide the duplicate, and then shrink this down considerably. How small? Well, there's the burn side, the car there. Smaller than that. Or about the size of that. Maybe a little smaller. That's probably alright. to move my camera all the way up there. Alright, that'll be fine. Let's re-render it. No, we don't want shadows. Alright, so that's the 8K render. That'll be the base terrain paint too. So you probably want to do some brightening and contrast to make it look a little more, you know, look a little better. But we'll save this as in our level. We'll put it in the see, small island. This one I've messed up earlier just to test one of these things on. It didn't look good. It didn't work out. So we save this as RGB 8-bit, but we got to do the height map different. Height map, we got to have a shader for that. So we need to add a geometry, and then we got to add a converter, separate X, Y, Z, and we take the position from the geometry to the vector of the separate X, Y, Z, and then we run that into a color ramp, which is another converter, and we run the Z to the FAC, and the color and alpha go to an emissive map. Oops, shader. Color to color, alpha to strength, and then you can run the emission to the material output. So now you're looking at a proper height map of this piece of land. So you'd render that. You'd render that at 16-bit RGB, no, 16-bit black and white, no compression, and render, and that'll be your height map that you import in as a terrain block. Now, you could have spent a long time on this model before you did this, so that when it did its height map, it would have more quality. This is pretty simple here. Anyway, we'll save this real quick, and if we got time, we'll come back, depending on how this one turns out. Come back and I'll show you how to do it a little better quality by using the sculpting tools. So save your image as, it don't matter what you name it, but be sure to put black and white 16-bit color, and then load your level that you plan on putting that in. And import in the terrain after you delete the other terrain. I did try 32-bit floating point and 32-bit linear. It didn't work. It just kept crashing every time I tried to click on it. But I also had a problem with that particular image, because I rendered it as a TIFF. Or no, I rendered it as an EXR and converted that to a PNG. And it just had issues the whole time. I had to re-render it. Blender GIS is good for some things, but I don't think it's good for this type of stuff. It's a matter of opinion, but I just don't feel like it's good for small areas, because it's really for bigger areas, you know, big range in meters, not small areas, but large areas. It's also not, does not seem very accurate for small stuff. I tried to use it before, and I ended up just saying, nah, it'd be easier just go around the map and Google Earth and take a bunch of pictures with Mushroom and make a model that way. Now you can see this monstrosity here. How it turned out. It didn't turn out good at all. It was the Atlanta Motor Speedway, but I just did the same thing. Not using Blender GIS. I just used, I hate that damn fog, man. That fog sucks. I'll turn it off. I mean, it's good for some things, but I don't like it all the time. So yeah, I made a 3D model with Mushroom of this from going around the satellite. And yeah, I didn't like it. It didn't come out worth the crap. I mean, how you expect it to do buildings? You know, you can't do that from elevation data. Not that it'd be accurate anyway. Well, the height might be right, but you know, the sides and whatnot. But anyway, this sucked. I didn't like this. So we delete it. And now we need to import into new terrain. Max height. Well, that's another thing. What's the elevation there? I don't damn know. Let's just do it 300. We'll do 0.5 meters so we get more definition in our map for painting and sculpting. Water height map. Alright, so then you import. Now once you get this in here, you'll be greeted with this beautiful material. You'll want to go to your terrain material library and upgrade terrain materials. And then say upgrade. And then once that gets done, then hit close. And then you'll be able to put the texture onto there. Takes a bit for 8K. Takes a bit for saving textures too that are 8K. So our base texture is 8192 by 8192. Macro and decel I set to 4096 by 4096. So the only one we're worried about is the base texture. So we'll just make a new one real quick. I'll just put this right here and hit add material. Once you add it, it's here. Now you can add the texture to it. And so this one, we just have one picture. Is our color map basically, which is all we need for this example. Small island, there it is, Walter. Now the scale is 8192. That's what you need to put here. That's what the area is in meters. And then you need to duplicate this in the ambient occlusion map. Since you don't actually have an ambient occlusion map, you need to put something in there. So that'll be enough. You can save the changes and add it to here. And once you add it, then you can remove the warning material. But don't remove that warning material first, or you're going to lock up. It's got to have something in there. To remove one, you got to have the other one in place. And so this is what Blender just converted to a terrain block in BeamNG would look like, where it's painted to look like whatever you took of the area, which is not bad, I guess. Now Blender GIS has another thing you can do where you can tell it to get the road data, and it'll basically give you the roads and splines, and then you got to use the tools in Blender to make them into roads. So if I were to put this back to just the material, what it came with, rather, and go back to this thing, if you're in a top-down view, you're supposed to be able to click on it and tell it to get also the elevation SRTM is what we already got. We need the OSM, and then we tell it land the highways. You can separate them, or you can have them all together. You also can do the buildings. Hold Shift to do two things at once. And when you hit OK, it should bring that stuff into here. However, it's not elevated. It's going to be below the map. Where the hell's the map at? Damn it. Actually, remember, we got the actual map here. I had to change that, remember? So that's the wrong one. It's this one that we didn't scale. Now, see, you got the roads, but now if you want them to have be matching the elevation data, I think you either got to shrink wrap them to that mesh, or you can try to apply the elevation data to them by saying get elevation. It should put those where they go with the correct elevation, but they're perfectly flat, so we see that didn't work too well. So what we can do is do a shrink map project. I think we can do that. Deform, shrink wrap. The object shrink wrap to is that. And you do projection. And you tell it to one of the two. You got to move it above it or below it. You got to move it till you get it right, because it is not really it's not a great idea to do this. Match them up. If you can match them up, I don't think you can. I think you have to do. I think you got to do it at the same time. Something's off about it. I'm not sure what it is, but I mean, I know something's off. It's not doing right. May not be that one that I do it. Maybe it's this one. See, I done moved the damn thing now. I'm not worried about the roads anyway, but that's how you'd get the roads if you got them done right. That wasn't right, but you'd have to bring them in. Once you get them correct, then you have to extend them out with like extrusion and stuff like that to make it so that they're actually like a road and not a spline. There's videos on the internet how to do that too, by the way. So let's get back to this. Let's send this to the game real quick. Let's give it a I don't know how to do this where you send this with the texture, because it's a TIF. I know what I can do though, but I done moved the camera. Oh shit! You know, we'll just eyeball it. We'll eyeball it. That's what we'll do. Yeah, I don't do this much. This isn't something that I particularly like to do. It's pretty boring shit, to be honest with you. And that looks about right, don't it? Hell, it might be right. And see, you got the terrain block, so you can do whatever you want with the terrain block. It ain't like a model, you know. And you did 0.5, so you got a smaller paintbrush too. Like this is the smallest you can go with 0.5. That's pretty detailed. That's pretty damn detailed. We can make another texture. I got some 8 stuff that's already 8K. Oh, you know what you can do too? You can add a macro to that and make it look a little better. So like you get like a dirt texture. The macro for a dirt would be the dirt texture but with a high pass filter. So let's see here. Let's find one. And no, you don't normally pull textures from 2 different maps. That's how you get messed up there doing that. You don't want to do that. But for this example, you just ignore that. It'll be alright. Ground. Alright, so color high pass. HP for high pass. I don't like a high pass filter to me. It looks like no, that ain't right. But there's no telling what I was thinking when I did it. There's no telling. I could just load it and make one real quick. Damn, hate to do that though. Let's just use one of these asphalts is messed up. I'm not sure which one it is. So put the bare minimum in there first, just the base map ambient occlusion. Oh, and these are 4096 by the way, the macro size. So that's what these have to be. Match that. We should get another layer of detail come in. That's the macro texture. Which 60 is pretty large for that. Probably be more like that. Oh no. And you can put another map, a detail map, since I got them both at 4K. If you wanted to just duplicate it, put that in there, you could, and make the scale smaller. So the closer you get, the more detailed it keeps getting. But we are just putting the base texture and the ambient occlusion, well, not even really the ambient occlusion. But I do got the roughness, or the normals and the roughness and whatnot. Also. Alright, let's go to the normals. I don't have them for this. You could do a photo filter normals, and it ain't gonna look too good though. That is asphalt. Alright. Yeah, something ain't right. I should have just used the one I damn was going to use. Oh, I never did put the damn roughness. No wonder it didn't do right. Oh well. Somebody's not a seamless tile. That ain't clear. It should be. Yeah, that's what happens when you don't use a seamless tile. You see a bunch of tiles. I wonder why. Yeah, that ain't gonna cut it there, is it? Well, goddamn, one of these sons of bitches are gonna look good. I hate to get stuck like this, but god damn it, shit's annoying, man. I try to make these videos half worth of shit. Shit's always going wrong. And I don't got time to edit this. There's too much time involved with that too. So you either like it or you don't. That's pretty much it. I don't have time to edit the stuff. I wish I did, but I don't. It sounds nice to think that in my head. You know, maybe I'd like to edit that stuff, but I really don't got the time. I'd just be kidding myself to think that I got the time. Alright, so now we got finally got the damn macro map working with the base texture map. And you can extend that out if you want it to go on farther. See, normally you'd have a map also to go with that to be its normal mapping, its roughness, its ambient occlusion, but we just have a base texture in there. So all you're getting is just pretty much a picture on the ground without anything to give it any like three-dimensional look. So a detail would put another layer of detail into that as you get even closer. And like I said, I did this way on purpose so that I could duplicate the same one if I wanted to and use it as the macro and the detail without having to have different images. Now different images would be better, but we're just going to scale one smaller than the other pretty much for our detail. So that's that 2. Let's see. That's 128. That's 2. Let's make that 32. Alright, so there's one layer of detail. As you get farther away, it transitions into the second one. It's difficult to tell what the second one is. I'll change the scale of it. So you can see it changing. You know which one it is. You couldn't even tell what that damn thing was. Because these are both conflicting for the same, they're both fighting for the same spot. So you can't have them both 1.0 strength, or you ain't gonna see them both. Yeah, see, normally you'd have another texture in there for that, but they ain't got all damn day. Be here forever trying to get this damn thing looking good. Let's see. Then you just mess with your terrain block. Try to make something out of this. But you'll find that it's pretty damn slow doing anything even here because of the condensed map size. That tool's about useless as a damn one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. It is. It's just slow. Everything's slow. Well, it doesn't help. The pressure's not up either. But what I'll normally do is use a mesh road or make a model in Blender of the road just to use for a thing. You know what I'm talking about? A thing to push dirt up to or down to. The good thing about the terrain using these mesh roads is the mesh road, well, the mesh road will also stick to models, but you know, if you want to just kind of get all of it just barely up underneath where it's at, you can just pick them all and just say move down just a bit or up, and then you can tell the terrain tools to align down to mesh, and it will make the ground form to the road there. Then you can hide the terrain, or you also can go up to the mesh. What I'll do is usually make this invisible glass transparent so we can see through it. So if you got places that you need to bring the terrain up, you'll see when you bring them up to the mesh that it in fact made it to the mesh. That's what I'll do with that. And then anywhere it's above the mesh, use down to tool. And then you can hide the mesh road because you don't actually drive on it. And you blend this stuff somewhat better than that. Then you put your decals down, whatever you want to ride on. Let's see what we got. What we got with Small Island. Guess we'll use that one. And I don't know if they got what they got in here for the side of the road. Yeah, I have one. Road edge variation. road edge. We got one for the dirt road edge, but not one for the asphalt. Well, you could make one. Wouldn't be too hard to do. Now, to do one that looks good, now that's another challenge, but you could make one and just use that as the texture and just have it so that that blends out to the ground better. Yep, because we don't got one in here. Well, we could just make it dirt road, because it is a dirt road. Dirt road. Alright. Yep, see how that decal now makes that look good? You could do that too with the asphalt. I tried making one myself of asphalt and it didn't look too good. I tell you if it looked good, but it didn't. It didn't look convincing enough to me. So it looked fake. Never seen that before. Fuse roads. I mean, I've seen it, but I never used it. I didn't know what it did. Huh, that's new. It's a new one for me, but I've never seen it actually used. I'm not sure if they maybe just added that not too long ago or something, but I've never seen it before. Can't really even see those. And then you got your forest stuff. All your bushes and trees and all that stuff. But do you see now what I mean about this does not seem like it's right? Like it don't seem like that's too far down from here. And that's just GIS, Blender GIS. It just, for whatever reason, it just doesn't look right. I'm sure there, if you're there, in the real place, it probably looks more like this, where this part of the terrain is up quite a bit more than that. Maybe something like that, maybe. And then it probably is one of those kind of roads where you can drift really good if you know how to drift. And then it transitions into the, that one. That's what I'm thinking. It's probably more accurate. See, that tool's supposed to blend like that, but it keeps throwing shit like that in it. It wants to go all the way up to the damn sky, or down to the bottom of the map. I don't know why it does that. It shouldn't do it. I need to work on that, I think. Or there's something that ain't set right. I don't know. But I just know it don't work worth the crap, pretty much. Unless you got to define the highest point with that picker. That could be it. Hell, that might be it. But what about the lowest point? Yeah, see, I just don't like this damn thing. I'll usually use the other one, the average smooth height, where it just averages the distance between them two. Basically, it's a stair stepper, but with smoothing. The stair stepper being the thing that averages the height from the steps. It basically is that, but with smoothing added to it. Which I could see why that would be a more favored one. God damn it. Yeah, keep in mind if you use this tool, it also will pull this up to any tree or bush that you might have planted, because those are meshes also. So you want to hide your forest if that's the case until you're done playing with this tool. And also remember, if you have an actual 3D mesh, say you had one of this land under this or something, and you're blending the two terrain block with the actual model, remember this tool will go to it too, and it'll likely go to it before it goes to your mesh road. And that'll throw you off. You'll be like, damn, I thought I was sticking to the road, but it's not. No, it sticks to whatever mesh is under it. That tool sucks. I didn't say that enough times. Could I make one better? Hell no. I don't know how to do that shit. But apparently they didn't either. I'm just kidding, man. No, I don't really mean that. Sure, they did a great job with that tool. It works splendid. Splendidly. So I can tell you this all moves a lot slower the bigger the map you got. It does move smoother or faster with a smaller polygon map. Remember, this is 8K and it's using 0.5 block size, so that makes it actually 4K in size, but with 8K's amount of density in that 4K. Oh, and exporting this back to Blender with the terrain selected, you would file export selected as Kaleida, and that's going to take a while for that to do. You'll be sitting here a while waiting, but you can do it, and you can import it into Blender if you want to make very specific models to fit things perfectly. But that's the good thing about the Blender GIS, though. If you do use that to make your terrains, and you could just make the model in there, it would work just the same. If you import the terrain into here, make sure that the position is not 0, 0, 0 as it is in Beam, but that it's minus 512, minus 512, 0 for it to do right. I don't know why, just needs that offset put in it. And if you mess with this long enough, you'll find out like your damn decals don't have an infinite length they can go. They'll eventually run out of texture space and they'll stop drawing. If that happens, you just pick one and split the road so that each one's got smaller file size. I guess it does better. First track I tried to make, I kept wondering, why the hell, man, it's my damn what was my decal not getting all the way around the place? Yeah, that was why. You got your total view distance too, and render priority if you want it to make sure it's seen all the time. You pick that a lower number and start fading in, fade. See, we run out of texture space, see? So you'd have to split the road somewhere around here, and now this now has more texture space since it's split. And then when that one does the same thing, you do the same thing again. So what this terrain paint basically is a paint by number, more or less. It's a paint by number. That's how you can look at it. don't have a lot of 8K stuff in here. It's all 4K. Yeah, oh well. I ain't worried about it. It's just an example. No, I forgot about ground covers too. So we have these different ground covers. Weed dry, long grass dry. Grass, lowercase g. What did I name mine? Yeah, it should be on there. Should be. We should see the grass come through there, but we don't. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the right thing. I think I picked the wrong